are you ready to continue our discussion of the preliminary chapter? If yes, then let us continue. Guys, up till now, we have discussed many definitional clauses. Let us continue our discussion. And in today's session, we are going to discuss the clauses beginning with the letter N, O, and P. Now, before I do that, let us revise what we had discussed in the earlier session. Yes, let's do a quick revision of what we studied in the previous section. Actually, we had studied a lot. We covered many clauses. Yes, beginning with letter F, G, H, I, J, K, L up to M. Let us quickly go through each one of them. Many were omitted, I agree. But yes, we had a very fruitful session and we covered many sections. Indeed, yes, we have studied everything in detail because I want you to be prepared for any kind of question that is asked in the exam. So I am trying my best to give you an in-depth analysis, and we are also going to relate it to the practicality of it. Yes. So wherever possible, I will show you the relevant forms, the websites, and we will also discuss various articles. We will also go through the board's report, annual report, etc. But yes, when the time comes. All right. In my previous session, I had discussed the concept of financial statement with you. Now, the notes that we had prepared would help you to revise the entire concept very quickly. What is included in the financial statement of a company? Yes, we include the balance sheet, profit and loss account, income and expenditure account, cash flow statement, statement for changes in equity if applicable, and explanatory note. But there are certain companies which need not prepare the cash flow statement. You guessed it right. One-person company, small company, dormant company, private company, if it is a startup, their financial statement may not include the cash flow statement. If you want, you can include, but even if it is not included, we are fine with it. So it may not include the cash flow statement. What is the meaning of financial year? See, if I talk about year, it means calendar year, Jan to December. But what I am discussing is financial year. It is a period beginning from 1st of April to 31st of March. But if you are incorporated on or after the first day of January, then yes, the financial year will end in the March of the year following that. We had discussed examples also. Sometimes for consolidation, you may follow a different period. Foreign company defined under Section 2, Clause 42. It is a company which is incorporated outside India, but is having a place of business in India. So for the business that is in India, Indian Companies Act will apply. Free reserves refers to the amount of profit that is available for distribution in the form of dividend. Yes, these reserves are available for distribution in the form of reserves. We are going to discuss this again when we come to the chapter Share and Share Capital. We had made a lot of notes, and I'm sure that you will be able to recall everything after going through those notes. See, students, I will always advise you to study and learn the concept immediately after watching the lecture. So after you watch the session, you can take a break of like say 10-15 minutes, and you should sit and learn what was covered in the session, because only then you will be able to memorize everything, and the portion is very vast. So you will not be able to allocate separate time, like I'll watch all the lectures now and then I will sit to study. That time will never come. So study simultaneously, solve the compiler questions, go for the test, chapter-wise tests, and by the time you finish the portion, you will be ready and you can immediately start revision. Government company is a company in which at least 51% is held either by the central government or one or more state governments, or partly by central and partly by one or more state governments. Subsidiary of such government company is also government company. It means the provisions of that government company will apply. Holding company, I am a holding company if you are my subsidiary. Issued capital, it means the capital which is offered from time to time. So this is offer. Key managerial personnel, important definition under clause 51. It includes CEO, managing director, manager, company secretary, whole-time director, CFO, any other officer or the officer, prescribed officer, which is just one level below the director. This is important for exam. Manager, yes, what was the difference between manager and managing director? Manager must be an individual, maybe a director or a non-director. We are not concerned with that. But he must be an individual, natural living person. However, for a managing director, the person must compulsorily be a director. Manager is under the superintendence or direction or control of the board of directors, whereas you become a managing director by articles or any agreement with a company or passing either a board resolution or a resolution in the general meeting. Manager, he will either wholly or he will handle substantially the whole of the affairs of the company, whereas the managing director has substantial powers. Can I have manager and managing director together in my company? That's not possible. How can you give substantial powers to two persons? Yes. So manager and managing director cannot coexist. Then we have discussed the various ways in which a person may acquire membership. He may become a member by being a subscriber to the memorandum. Subscriber means I agree to purchase the number of shares mentioned against my name in the memorandum. Even though the name has not been written in the register, application was not received, allotments were not made, but even then, this person is considered as a member. You are liable to contribute in case the company goes into winding up. If later on anybody wants to become a member, they may do so by making an application in writing. So yes, oral application is not valid. Also, if my name appears in the records of the beneficiary, then I am a member. Memorandum was discussed, clause 56. It means the memorandum with which the company is originally incorporated, or it was filed at the time of incorporation. Or if you have altered that, then the altered memorandum will be considered. Okay. So students, these were the definitions which we had covered in the earlier session. Now, before I proceed, in my earlier video, I had discussed the story of an eagle and chickens with you. Yes, farmland chickens. Do you remember that story? Yes. So the eagle was with the farmland chickens and did not believe, that I could fly so high. And all the others said that, you cannot fly that high. You're just a normal chicken. And the eagle believed it. In that, we had concluded that it is very important for you to decide your company. So I just want to continue my discussion because I'm sure that you are at an age wherein, you are confused whether this person is my friend, whether I should spend more time with him. And at this level, I interact with so many students across India, and many a times the reason for not clearing is because they were not serious, or the friends were like, "Why do you want to study? It is time to enjoy. You can study later." Also, they are very casual. So at this stage, especially, you will get people who will discourage you or who will not encourage you enough. So it is very important for you to have good friends, and you should choose your friends. You should not be friends with someone who is like, just giving you time. Okay, why do you want to study? Come on, let's go to this place. I will come with you. That person is not your friend. So please realize your potential, like that eagle. Yes, he did what his friends and his other fellows told him, that you're not an eagle, you cannot fly, and he believed in that. So what you think, how you act, depends on the company that you keep. Now, if you sit and study, now I am telling you all this because it is very important for you to decide your study partner in the first chapter itself. Like, sometimes students prefer studying alone. So for them, this is not the advice for them. If you want to study alone, if you are self-motivated, then you can skip this part and continue watching the lecture. But if you are someone who needs to be motivated, you like group study, you want that your friend should encourage you, then it is very important for you to have a proper study group. Now, I know students who have scored ranks, and you know how they would study? They would call their friend, like if you're studying in the library or if you're studying at home, they would call their friend on WhatsApp video call and just keep that phone in front of them and study together. So that is how you make use of technology. So please decide whom you want to spend your time with, because what you think, how you act, will depend on the company that you keep. So always be around people who are encouraging you. Arey, let's study together. All right, let's make a timetable and let's follow it. I will update you on WhatsApp and you also update me on WhatsApp. Let us study in the library. Okay, let's solve papers. Let's make a timetable and let's follow it together. If you have completed that chapter, I will study 1 hour extra and I will also complete that chapter. I may not be as smart as you, but I will put in extra effort. Your friend should tell you, Are you didn't finish studying this chapter? Come on, I'll help you. You should surround yourself with friends who encourage you. I have a student of mine, he just called me a few days back and he said, Ma'am, I missed my first attempt because he was attending offline classes. And over there, the crowd was very negative and it was a very toxic crowd for him. They would taunt him. They would even comment on the way he dressed. Like, why are you wearing shorts to classes? Or why are you studying now during break time? So they would ridicule him and, make him feel that he was good for nothing. He said it affected me mentally and I did not give that attempt. Then another student of mine recommended him and he purchased my online lectures and he cleared. So I just want you to be aware that your company will affect how you fare in your exam. So from day one itself, have study partners, design your study properly, go to the library and don't feel that I will study later. There is a lot of time. Time is never enough. I'm telling you. Even if you are giving only a few papers, in the end, you will feel that whatever time is left, that is not sufficient even for a single group. So I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to have a proper group of friends who encourage each other. So choose your friends wisely. Okay. So on this note, let us continue our discussion and let us discuss clause 57, net worth. Ma'am, we are still thinking about who should be our friend and you immediately started the discussion. See, don't think too much about it. Okay. That is why I try not to, discuss and distract you during the lecture. I don't want to move away from the topic. That is why before starting the session, I told you this was in my mind and I want my students to clear in the first attempt. Okay, so I didn't want to distract you during the lecture. That is why I mentioned this earlier. All right, now come back. Let us motivate each other and continue our discussion. So in today's session, I'm going to discuss clauses beginning with N, O, and P. Okay, so we have N, O, and P. I have a story for you. This story will help you to memorize the sections, and I have also written this so that, when you watch the lectures, you can write it along with me. And later on, you can just refer the story. It's always with you. So the clauses starting with letter N, we have section clause 57, net worth, and clause 58 defines notification. Then we have officer, officer in default, liquidator, one-person company, ordinary, and special resolution. There is a story for this. Now the directors have been appointed. It is time to appoint the officers. But be very careful whom you are appointing because these officers must not do any default. Okay. So be very careful of whom you are appointing. This default may attract the official liquidator. You know what he will do? He will sell everything that belongs to the company. So be very careful of the officers that you are appointing. Once your assets are sold, then you will have to continue business alone in one-person company. And for this, you will have to pass a resolution. Don't try to make any sense out of this story. It is just linked so that you are able to memorize the section. So officers, clause 59, officer in default, clause 60, official liquidator, one-person company, ordinary and special resolution. Please pause the video and write this. It's not a difficult story to remember. It's a small one, so we can learn it later. All right, write the story also. All right. Clauses beginning with the letter P. clause 64 to 67, they are not nice people. We are not going to do business with them. I didn't have anything to create a story, so I just told they're not nice people. We should not do business with them. Okay. Can a private company and its promoter issue a prospectus? Private company, prospectus. No, that's not possible, because only a public company needs to issue a prospectus at the time of public offer. Then what is the deal with these public financial institutions? Okay, will you remember this? So 64 to 67, they are not nice people. We are not going to do business with them. 68, private company and its promoter, can they issue a prospectus? No, it can be issued only by a public company. And what's the deal with these public financial institutions? So guys, these are the sections that begin with the letter, clause that begin with the letter P. Write this in your notebook. Good. Done. Okay. Let us now discuss these clauses one by one. Clause 57, meaning of the word net worth. See, worth means the value of the company. Okay. What is the health? What is the financial position of a company? The word net, okay, the word worth means the value of the company. And the word net, it indicates that we are going to reduce some figure from the asset. Yes. So how do you calculate the worth? How do you calculate the value of a business? So it is nothing but the value of asset owned by the company. Okay. So you can write it along with me. It is the value of assets owned. And because it is net, yes, net, it means you will reduce the amount, you can write not the value, but the amount of liabilities owed. Okay, so did you understand what we are writing? The value of assets owned minus the value or the amount of liabilities owed that I need to pay. So basically, it talks about the financial position of the company. It tries to tell us or measure the value of the business. Okay. So the word worth, it shows the value. We are calculating the value or the financial health of the company. It's the value of, you can write entity or corporation, value of an entity. Now, how do we calculate net worth according to the definition? Definition is very simple. We just need to memorize the equation. So it is the aggregate value of the paid up share capital. You will add all the reserves, add securities premium, add or less profit and loss account. So you will add the profit and you will reduce the loss. Because it is net, it means that from this value, we are going to reduce the accumulated losses, deferred expenditure, and miscellaneous expenditure to the extent not written off. Now, there is a clarification over here. See, we are including the reserves, but it does not include, okay, although we are adding the reserves, but we are not going to include the reserves which are created out of revaluation of assets, write back of depreciation and amalgamation. Does revaluation of asset represent actual profit? See, I purchased a land for rupees, let's say 5 lakhs, and it was long back. Now the value is 5 crores. I decided to revalue the asset. Does it mean that it's profit for me? Can I use it to distribute in the form of dividend? I'm just revaluing the asset to show the correct value. I don't have any actual money because I have not sold the asset. So revaluation, whatever profit that you have, added to reserve, that revaluation reserve is not to be considered because that's not actual profit. I will earn profit only when the asset is actually sold. Here I'm not selling it. I'm only calculating it. That this is the amount of the assets that I own and this is the liability that I have to pay. So today, what is the value? Like today, if I sell all the assets and I pay the liabilities, what is the money that I will have? That is my worth. Notification clause 58. To notify or notification. It means you are publishing something in the official gazette. It's a public announcement. We saw that a bill passes through various stages before it becomes an act. Then it is consented by the president. But the general public does not know that an act has come into place. We make an announcement and that is done in the official gazette. So we notify. What is the keyword over here? We publish it in the official gazette. And I had mentioned that official gazette is a publication by the central government. It is done on weekly basis. It is printed in the press government of India. Next, we have the meaning of the word officer. It's an inclusive definition because we said this is included. You can include something else also. So who is an officer of the company? So we have the director, manager, key managerial personnel, or any other person in accordance with whose directions or instructions or the directors are accustomed to act. So you can highlight over here A, B, C, and D. So officer means that you are the director, okay, you are the officer of the company. You're acting for the company. Manager, we had discussed, he comes under the superintendence or control of the board of directors. He is managing the affairs of the company. So he is an officer. Key managerial personnel, KMP, CEO, CFO, manager, managing director, company secretary. They are all officers of the company. What about this? Any person in accordance with whose directions or instructions the board or any director is accustomed to act. Let me give you a case law. Do you remember we had studied this earlier? Guilford Motor Company, we had studied this in foundation. Guilford Motor Company versus Horney. Now, he was the managing director of the company. The company had entered into a contract with him telling that even if you leave the company, you cannot start a competing business. You cannot undercut our prices. Undercut means if Guilford Motor is offering the goods for 10,000, he cannot say, buy from me and I will give for 9,000. He cannot attract the customers. Okay. So Guilford Motor entered into a contract with Horney that you will not steal our clients. You will not undercut the price. He agreed, but later on, he was fired. And he set up his own business and started undercutting Guilford Motor Company's prices. Then he remembered, oh God, I had entered into a contract promising not to do this. If I don't follow it, they will file a case against me for breach of contract. So he quickly sold his business to a company which he formed with his wife and friend, Mr. Howard. And he sold the business and they continued undercutting the prices. Guilford Motor Company filed a case. Now, Horney said, you had a contract of non-competing with me. You never had a contract with this company. There was no contract that they cannot undercut your prices. Your contract was with me and I am not connected with this company. He tried to keep the company as a shield to hide his wrongful act. What do you think, students? Will he be considered as a part of the company? Will corporate veil be lifted? Yes. Don't you think that even though he is not a part of the company, but he can very well control the wife and Mr. Howard? Yes. So can I say that the board of directors, they are following the directions or instructions of Mr. Horney? He is also considered as a part of the company. So what did we read? In accordance with whose advice, instructions, directions the board is accustomed to act. He will tell the board what is to be done, how it is to be done. So he is also considered as officer of the company. So in accordance with whose directions, instructions the board is accustomed, means they are used to acting. So we can take this case law and we can use it to understand this provision. Next, we have officer in default. Oh, officer in default. See, now it is very simple that Companies Act says in case of any contravention, they say that in case of any contravention means if you are not following the directions of the Companies Act, okay, if you commit any default, you will attract penal provisions. Penalty will be imposed. See, we want to punish people who are not following the act. Otherwise, people will act in the way they want. What is the use of making a law then? The Companies Act says that in case of contravention, penal provisions will apply. Now, who can be penalized? It will be the company because the contract is in the name of the company. But do you think the company has a mind of its own? The company has defaulted? No. We will hold the officer in default liable. Now, a company may be subject to fine or penalty. We can't put the company in jail. But officer in default may be subject to fine, penalty, and or imprisonment. Okay. So you may have to pay fine, you may have to be imprisoned. People have a mind of their own. So persons can be imprisoned. So law says that who is this officer in default? Whose mind was this? Who committed the delay? They will be liable. But man, just because I am an officer, just because I am a director, will I be liable? No. Only if you were involved or you knew about it or you supported, only then you will be liable. You will not be liable just because you're an officer. And I think that this provision is a very sensible one. See, you cannot be held liable just because you're an officer. So law says that we will hold only those persons liable who are in default. I think this is a very good move. Why should we hold everyone liable? We will hold only those officers liable who have committed a default. Yes or no? So who is this officer in default? Now, for the purpose of this act, officer in default will be a whole-time director. Now see, whole-time director means someone who is in whole-time employment of the company. How can you say I was not aware? Yes, you are in whole-time employment of the company. You didn't know that this wrong thing was happening in your company? Ma'am, what exactly can go wrong? Now, a default was committed with respect to allotment of shares. How come you did not know that there's a default? So, whole-time director can be held liable. Now, please note, students, if they were not aware or if they took measures to, save the company or it was done without their knowledge, then they will not be liable. But yes, we assume that because he is in whole-time employment, he is supposed to know what is wrong in the company. You are a key managerial personnel, you are an officer in default. Man, we don't have a KMP. Oh, you don't have KMP. Then in that case, such director or directors as may be specified by the board and people have given their consent. All right, In case something goes wrong, I will be liable. Okay. So when there is no KMP, then the director or directors, as may be specified by the board, they will be liable. Plus, they should also give their consent. Ma'am, these are all lazy people, huh? The board has not appointed or specified any director. And there is no KMP also. Oh, there is no KMP. And no director has been specified. All right. If nothing has been specified, then all directors will be liable. We'll make all of them liable, whether they were aware or not. If no director is specified, then we'll make all of them liable. Okay. So KMP is liable. But if there is no KMP, then the directors who are specified by the board, they will be liable. No one is specified, all directors are liable. Now, in this case, there was a default in allotment of shares. There was no managing director, no whole-time director, manager, secretary, or person who was specified or in charge of the board. All directors are liable. See, there is no whole-time director. There is no KMP. There's no one specified by the board. All the directors are liable. So in this case, all the directors shall be treated as officer in default. Any person who is under the immediate authority of the board or KMP, like an associate, like somebody like manager, they are under the board of directors, yes, below the board. So example, manager. They are under the immediate authority of the board. We discussed this in the definition that manager is just below the board. They work under the control or direction of the board. Or you may have an associate, okay, associate director. So they are in charge and they knowingly either they participate, they are actively participating, or they allow this, or they fail to take steps when they find that there is some default. So I actively participated. I knowingly allowed that wrong thing to happen. When I came to know about it, I didn't take any steps. I am an officer in default. Any person under whose advice, direction, instruction the board is accustomed to act. We discussed this. That example of Guilford Motor. Any other person who gives advice to the board in a professional, other than. Now, the board of directors of the company never take decision without consulting their CS and advocate. Are they also considered as officers in default in case something goes wrong? No. They're only doing their professional, they are only advising in their professional capacity. That's their work. You cannot say that the board is accustomed to act by consulting them. That's their job. So if any person gives advice in a professional capacity, they're not officers in default. Every director who in respect of the contravention is aware, okay, he knows about it. He knows about it. Okay. He has either participated. When the contravention took place, he gave his consent. Okay, all right, do it. We'll see what happens. Or he gave support, or it was his idea, it was his planning. Then that person is liable. So when you are aware, or when you participated, or you gave your consent, or you were involved in that, then you are an officer in default. As far as issue of or transfer of shares is concerned, okay? As far as issue or transfer of shares is concerned, for default in issue or transfer, the share transfer agent, registrar, merchant bankers, they are liable. Okay. Now, who are these registrar and transfer agents? See, when I want to transfer shares to some other person, I need to go to the company, I need to make an application. But the company is in Delhi and I stay in Mumbai. I can't travel. So, at various places in our country, the company has appointed such transfer agents, registrars, etc. They act like a connection between the shareholders and the company. Okay, you want to submit your transfer form, you can give it over here. You have some issues, you're not getting your dividend, you can go and approach them. So in case of any issue of shares or transfer of dividend, these persons will be considered as officer in default, and if anything goes wrong. Ma'am, do we need to learn all this? See, I don't think a question will be asked, but even if it is asked, you can just remember the keywords and you can frame the sentence in your own words. It's allowed. It's okay. Okay. Next, we have official liquidator not covered. One person company we will be discussing in detail when we discuss the chapter types of companies. Here, you need to simply understand it as only one person as a member, minimum one, maximum also one. What about ordinary and special resolution? Yes, we will discuss this. Ordinary resolution. In order to pass an ordinary resolution, we need the approval of majority of the shareholders present in the meeting. In simple words, the votes cast in favor of the resolution must be more than the votes cast against. You need simple majority. Now, let us discuss an example over here. First, let me discuss and then I will give you time to copy. You can write it in your notebook. Now, let's say that there are 100 members in the company, okay? But only 70 members attended the meeting. Out of them, 10 are saying we don't want to work. We don't want to vote. So out of 70, 10 don't want to vote. So how many members voted? Only 60. Members who voted in favor are 20 and members who voted against. Members who voted in favor are 40 and members who voted against are 20. The law says that I simply want that the votes in favor must be more than the votes against. How many votes are against? 20. And how many in favor? 40. Is the ordinary resolution passed? Yes. I just need majority. Ma'am, we got this. But what if the votes cast in favor are 30 and the votes cast against are also 30? Possible, no? 60 members attended the meeting, 30 voted in favor and 30 voted against. What to do in this case? Now, if the articles allow, okay, if articles allow, chairman of the meeting is allowed to cast a casting vote. Casting means second vote, okay? Casting means you can vote again, okay? This is your second vote. You can vote again. So, chairman of the meeting can vote again. What if he decides to vote, this example, okay? What if he decides to vote in favor? So, now in favor will be 31 and against will be 30. Is the ordinary resolution passed? Yes. But what if he decides to cast vote against the resolution? So, if vote is cast against the resolution, then is OR passed? No. So, whether the resolution is passed or not depends on the decision of the chairman. Ma'am, we got this. But what if the articles do not allow casting vote? 10 votes in favor and against are same. Casting vote is not allowed. Resolution will not be passed. It will be dropped. how will we understand whether ordinary resolution is to be passed or special resolution? The Act will specify. So in the Act, it is mentioned whether you need to pass an ordinary or a special resolution. You just need the votes accordingly. So if I want to alter the capital clause, ordinary resolution. I want to issue bonus shares, ordinary resolution. I want to buy back the shares, special resolution. Act will specify. Okay, you want to write this? Then I will discuss the next part. Okay, next. What is the total number of members? Again, I'm taking 100. 70 attended, 10 did not vote, 60 voted. 10 cast votes against and 50 cast in favor. To pass a special resolution, the votes cast in favor must be 3 times the votes cast against. And what? If the votes against are 10, votes cast in favor should be at least 30, at least. So 10 into 3, it should be at least 30. But what is the actual? Actually, 50 have voted in favor. Very good. Okay, I wanted 30. 50 have voted. So it means that the special resolution is passed. Alright. So for a special resolution, the votes cast in favor must be 3 times the votes cast against. Alright. Write this. 3 times you can also say 3/4 because out of 4 votes, 3 must be in favor and 1 can be against. Are you seeing this? Okay, 3/4 means out of 4 votes, 3 are in favor and 1 is against. So here also the equation is same, no? Votes in favor are 3 times the votes against. So you can have more than or equal to. Okay. So the vote cast in favor must be more than or equal to 3 times the vote cast against. I repeat, the votes cast in favor must be more than or equal to 3 times the votes cast against the resolution. Only then a special resolution is passed. So I need the votes in favor to be 3 times the votes cast against. 3/4 also mean that 75% or more should be in favor. Okay, 75% or more should be in favor. Write this. So that was about special resolution and ordinary. Paid up capital, it means the amount which has been paid up. But it will not include any other amount, that is your securities premium account that is recorded separately. So paid up means I had called and this is the amount that was paid. It excludes the calls in arrears. Postal ballot, it means we are voting by post or electronic mode. Now, what is this? Again, we are going to discuss this in detail in management and administration. So I'm not going to detail right now. What is the meaning of postal ballot? See, meeting is not physically called, okay? Meeting is not physically held. Because we want maximum participation. When we call physical meeting, hardly people attend. We want maximum participation. So we tell them that don't come. You can either vote electronically or we'll send you a paper. Just tick whether you want to vote against or in favor and you put it in the post box. That's all. So in order to encourage maximum participation, we have given this option of voting through postal ballot. We will discuss when we discuss the chapter management and administration. Similarly, private company also I will discuss in unit 2. Public company also we will discuss when we come to unit 2 because there are many provisions and details which I want to provide here. So I'm not covering that now. Public financial institution, you don't have in your syllabus. What is the meaning of the word prescribed? We had discussed prescribed. Where is it prescribed? In the rules. So when the law mentions as may be prescribed, where is it prescribed? In the rules. Promoter. Now, we are again going to discuss this when we come to the chapter incorporation of company. I'll just highlight the keyword here. There we are going to discuss everything about promoter. See, if you read the definition, students, they are not telling you the work that a promoter does. They are only identifying the promoter. Okay, so the definition merely identifies promoter. You will understand what I say. See, what is the work of a promoter? Yeah, he comes up with the idea of doing business. He is the one who arranges for capital. He is the one who incorporates the company. But after reading the definition, you will realize that the definition merely identifies the promoter. It is not defining, it is not explaining the work or the meaning of the word promoter. Who is a promoter? So he has been named in the prospectus, so he is a promoter. He is identified by the company in the annual return, so his name is written, he is a promoter. Basically, the definition is identifying a promoter, saying that this person should be held responsible in case something goes wrong. Yeah, explaining the meaning. He has control over the affairs of the company, either directly or indirectly, as a shareholder, director, or otherwise. He is controlling the company. Or in accordance with whose advice, directions, instruction, the board is accustomed to act. We just discussed that Guilford Motor Company can be an example. But if a person is acting merely in the professional capacity, then he is not a promoter. Like example, CA, CS, advocate. They are only giving you professional advice. They are not promoters. Yeah, they may help you in incorporation of the company. That's their work. They are promoters. We are going to discuss this in detail. I'm only highlighting the keywords here. Prospectus. Every public company, when it offers shares to the public, prospectus is required. It gives information about the company, about the issue. We are going to discuss this in detail in prospectus and allotment chapter. I'm not covering even the definition now. We are only highlighting the keywords. Now, what is a prospectus? Now, company says this is my prospectus. All right, we accept it. So, any document described or issued as a prospectus, you are saying this is your prospectus. Okay, we believe you. A red herring prospectus, shelf prospectus, these are kinds of prospectus. Notice, circular, advertisement, any document inviting offers from the public for subscription. This is a prospectus. Please write, this is nothing but a deemed prospectus. Deemed means it is considered just like a prospectus. Again, I'm not going into the details right now. We are going to discuss the definition in detail in the prospectus chapter. To understand the definition, you need to know the meaning of these types of prospectus. Only then you will understand the definition, right? So we are going to discuss this in detail in the chapter prospectus. I think we are done. This also we'll discuss in types of companies. All right. So guys, with this, we come to an end of today's session where we discussed the clauses starting with the letter N, O, and P. You can take 10 to 15 minutes of break, but come back and learn whatever we studied. How will you learn? You just need to close the book, try to recall the keywords, write the keywords, compare it with the answer, that is your textbook. Whatever mistake you make or you miss out on something, write that in red. I'm sure you will remember that till the exam. All right. So students, I take your leave. I'll see you in my next session where we complete this chapter with the remaining provisions. Okay, we will discuss whatever is balance and finally the chapter will be done. All right. So keep learning, keep revising, because as we move ahead, you may forget what was studied earlier. So this is a very, it's like a golden period. Okay, you have just started your studies. You have a lot of time to learn everything. And you know, when it is fresh in your mind, you've just understood everything, learning becomes very easy. So don't procrastinate, don't postpone it. After 15 minutes of break, you are going to sit again. That is your homework for today. You will sit and learn what was discussed today. All right. Bye bye, guys. I'll meet you next time.